What's going on, Longhorn Nation? I'm back, BJ with Bad Talks. Back from the grind, ready to grind, right? Isn't that all we do? Man, here it is. We're here. That's what our goal was all year long, is to get back to the Big 12 Championship. So number 14, Texas, on Saturday takes on number 5, Oklahoma. A lot riding on this game. Obviously, the Big 12 Championship riding on this game. But OU playoff implications are riding on this game as well. Texas wins, they'll probably get the Sugar Bowl. Texas loses, they still possibly get the Sugar Bowl. But that's irrelevant right now. Texas' goal at the first of the year was to improve, be a good football team, and win the Big 12. Not just get to the Big 12 championship. But it's here. It's the first time since, I think it was 1903, that Texas and Oklahoma has faced each other twice in the same year. Classic. I mean, I remember when we first started doing this, everybody kind of played the round robin in the Big 12, and then we brought back the Big 12 championship and went away from the Big South, or I'm sorry, the North and the South divisions within the conference. And I remember when it first came out, I was thinking, man, when Texas comes back, because they're going to come back, Texas OU could be playing in the Big 12 championship every year, and that's good for fans because I love playing Oklahoma, and I'm sure Oklahoma loves playing Texas. It's fun. It's a rivalry. But man, if there's playoff implications like it is this week, that could knock the conference out, which is fine with me. To me, I was telling a guy this week on Twitter, because we all know Aggies and SEC, mainly Aggies, are all about long as the SEC gets in. Aggies could care less if their team gets in the playoff picture. As long as their conference is in there, they're fine. Not us, not Texas. If Texas is not in the playoffs, we don't want anybody in the playoffs. I was told a long time ago, never root for Oklahoma, and I'll never root for Oklahoma. If Oklahoma beats Texas and gets into the playoff and plays Alabama, I'll be roll tide all day long. All day long. I don't care about conferences. Cannot stand Oklahoma. Cannot stand Aggie. Cannot stand those guys at Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma State. If they made it to the playoff, I'm rooting against them. I'm a Texas fan, not a Big 12 fan. I hate the Big 12. And going on with that, with the Big 12 this week, the horns down. And I wrote some notes before I listened to Bowlesby on the radio earlier. I had a little clip on Twitter, and he talked about the horns down, the penalty. All that came out this week. Lincoln Riley sending a message to the Big 12 asking if horns down will cause a penalty. And it will if it's in a taunting manner. Of course, the OU Gooners fans have run with that and said, oh, Tom Herman's a crybaby and Texas is soft and this and that. But it has nothing to do with that. Like the commissioner said, if it's in a taunting manner. A few years back, when Mike Davis was a wide receiver for Texas, Texas was in Lubbock, and he scored on a long touchdown. And when he got in the end zone, he looked at the fans and he took his guns and put them in the holster, and they darn near threw the flag at him. Nobody said anything about it. All right. A couple weeks ago, or after Texas beat Kansas, they were talking to Brecken Hager, and he said that it's 7:08 or whatever time it is. I don't remember what game it was after it, but 7:08. It was after the Iowa State game, and Oklahoma still sucks. They made him write an apology to Oklahoma, but nobody talked about it. But now that it's come out about the horns down, all these softies have to say, oh, Texas is soft. It has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with the horns down. We want you to throw the horns down. We don't care. It does nothing but piss us off and play harder. Players, anyway. Fans, we say OU sucks during the whole game. And us as fans, do it again on Saturday. Just like you fans are going to throw horns down, and that's okay. Nobody cares. So, moving on from that. Like beating a dead horse, right? But it's going to be a fun game this week on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the media, Texas radio. Haven't listened to any Oklahoma radio, obviously. But there's some bad blood, and a lot of it stems from Kyler Murray. I know his name is Kyler, but I call him Kyler Murray because he's probably the biggest titty baby in college football. He darn sure not going to take a hit. Good thing he is fast, because if he wasn't, he would be not very good, because he obviously can't take a hit. But anyway, when Kryler wouldn't comment on Sam Ehlinger's game, that he respects his game, or what he just says, no comment on that. And that stems back from Texas beat them in Dallas. Sam went up to shake his hand, tell him good game, and Kryler wouldn't shake his hand. So Sam said some explicit words and told him to take that loss, and called him a name after that. So Kryler's still butthurt about that. He's a softie. We all know this. I noticed that in high school. The dude's a baller. Not taking any of that away from Kryler Murray. Dude's a baller, straight baller. Possibly the best quarterback to ever come out of Texas high school football. I watched him. I go to the state championships every year, as you know, if you've been tuning in. And I'm getting ready to go back in a couple weeks for 4 days. But that doesn't change the fact that the dude is soft. All right, straight baller, but he's a little sensitive. And Charles Omenihu brought that up in one of his interviews earlier in the week. He said, we all know how Kryler is. The dude's that way. He's sensitive. And that's just how he's going to be. Now, he's a straight baller, don't get me wrong. We got our hand. Texas got their hands full. And so they asked Sam Ehlinger what they thought about Kryler Murray's game, and he said, I'll comment on this. I totally respect his game. And that's all he said. And I like that. I love Sam Ehlinger, man. Now, y'all know this is my quarterback. The difference in Sam and Kryler is a fifth-year senior. Dude's 22 years old or whatever he is. And Sam Ehlinger's 18. Still a young quarterback. Still got him for 2 years. And he's already brought this team to the Big 12 championship. And this is Kryler's first year and only year to play college football, because at A&M he didn't even get a chance. He's excelling under Lincoln Riley, which is good. I mean, he's a good baller. But I do like all the trash talk. And, let's take a look at the matchup a little bit. I think, obviously, Oklahoma has the better offense. Like Coach Herman said in his Monday press conference, it's not going to be a 9-6 football game. It's going to be a high-scoring football game. It's not going to be 70 points like the big dog SEC defenses have. You put up 74 and you still flex your muscle at how bad your defense is. But there's going to be a lot of points. It's going to be 30s and 40s, guaranteed. I don't see it going over 50s, but it may. But it's going to be in the 30s and 40s. Oklahoma is going to score. And I say this every week. Oklahoma's going to get the ball first. And Oklahoma's going to be up 7-0 within 6 to 8 plays. That's just Texas football. That's what they've been doing all year. I don't know why we think it would be any different. But I think Texas, I know Texas has an advantage on the defense side of the ball. Texas defense is probably twice as good as Oklahoma's defense. Texas has Charles Omenihu, Big 12 player, the defensive lineman player of the year. Has Caden Stearns at safety, freshman defensive player of the year. These guys can fly around, man. We got Omenihu, Boyd, I think Nelson it was, or somebody got invited to play in the Senior Bowl on defense. So the defense is capable. They held a good Iowa State team. Obviously, Iowa State's not Oklahoma on offense, but held on to a good Iowa State football team, and they played well against Kansas, which Kansas offense isn't all that, so that's nothing to brag about. But Texas defense is better than Oklahoma's defense. Oklahoma's offense is better than Texas's offense. Now, when it comes to Oklahoma's more of a finesse football team. Texas is a tougher football game. Whenever they played in Dallas for the Red River Shootout or whatever it is, Texas was throwing OU around for 3.5 quarters. And the OU was laying all over the field. Even before the game, I told y'all last time I'd bring this up. Before the game, we were standing down, me and my brother were standing on the edge of the field, and we were watching the players warm up, and Caden Stearns and all those guys, they had no problem walking in between the OU players and getting in their face and telling them, ain't nobody scared of you. You may think you're the big bad wolf of Big 12. There's a new sheriff in town. And I've been telling all my buddies, all my OU friends that I'm in Facebook Messenger with, that they're actually, one of my buddies, his son played for Coach Herman at Houston, his All-American safety. And he used to talk so great about Tom Herman until he put on the burnt orange, and now it's, Herman's not worth the coach. But I think that's hilarious. But anyway, I've been telling them, y'all know it's coming. Tom Herman is bringing this Texas football team to compete every single year in the Big 12. This isn't Charlie Strong. This isn't the last few years of Mac Brown. This is Coach Herman's culture change. He's bringing in, but Texas moved up in the top 5 recruiting class. So if we can stay there, we'll finish 2 years in a row in the top 5 with some sick ballers. So Coach Herman's got this thing rolling. and they can only get better. As Coach Herman says, he thinks they're overachieving this year. But I say Oklahoma's offense is better than Texas, but Texas is going to score. One thing I don't like about Texas offense right now is Sam is banged up. Sam Ehlinger's banged up. Not an excuse. That's the hard facts. He's banged up. He showed it. He didn't play second half of Kansas, so the guy's hurting. So if OU can get to him and hit him, it works to their advantage. But I think Sam is. There's nothing in this world that's going to keep Sam Ehlinger out of this football game. He's going to start on Saturday, and he's going to play his butt off unless the trainers tell him in mid-game, hey, you're done, son. Other than that, he's going in. Another positive if Texas can win this football is Hanger gets to cut his hair. My goodness, I'm sick of looking at that hair. But this isn't for the Golden Hat. I've seen some questions out there about the Golden Hat stuff. You all should know that's all for Dallas. This is for the Big 12 championship. This is more important. The Golden Hat goes back and forth every year. All right, the Big 12 championship. If you win this, it stays in your trophy case forever. So Texas is back there, and I think they're ready. OU's defense is not good at all, none whatsoever. And I read somewhere that they got two freshmen starting safeties because their good safeties are out or something like that. Could be deadly dangerous that they don't have some of their senior guys out there because we all know their defense is not very good. OU, this may be an advantage to Texas, but OU, I know their fans are and the national media is, but they're looking forward to the playoff. Who's going to get in, Ohio State or Oklahoma? And they're forgetting they got a game to play on Saturday. But I think the players and the coaches for Oklahoma, I don't think they're thinking that. I mean, of course, they want to make the playoffs. But they got a chip on their shoulder from that Dallas game, playing in at the Red River game. So they've been wanting, Kryler mainly, has been wanting to play Texas. He can tell you he hadn't thought about it, heard it in his press conference the other day. He hadn't thought about Texas at all. He's full of crap. The dude's thought about them every week. And that's why he said, I don't want to comment on it. Dude, be real, man. You want back at them. You're not a true athlete or a true beast that you say you are, people say you are, if you don't want back at Texas. So I think they'll have a chip on their shoulder, starting with Kyler Murray. And this could be Lincoln Riley's last year in Oklahoma. A lot of talk about moving to the NFL. Hey, a lot of coach changes going on. You got Cliff Kingsbury fired at Texas Tech, Mac Brown getting hired at North Carolina, and him taking Aggie's ace recruiter, Tim Brewster, the goofball Brewster, up to North Carolina with him. I'm glad I don't have to see any of his A&M tweets anymore because, good gosh, that was horrible. Seeing that guy talking about the station's lit. Anyway, so yeah, there's some pros and cons for OU, and there's some pros and cons for Texas, obviously. But it's just going to be, I think it's a little finesse versus toughness on Saturday, and I'm hoping the toughness wins out. But like Coach Herman said, I was just watching the All Access, Texas Football All Access on the Longhorn Network, and he was talking to him after first to talk about the halftime speech. Trey Watson came in because Texas wasn't playing very well. They were only up 7-0 on Kansas, and expected to be up way more than that. And he was letting them have it. Trey Watson was senior, came from Cal. I love me some Trey Watson, as you guys know that you've been tuning in. And he was getting into their tail in the locker room, telling them, hey, we got 30 more minutes. You got to finish. We've come too far to get set back now. Go win the football game. And they did. And then Coach Herman talked after the game about it's only one game. You beat Kansas, that was one game. Now you have made it to your goal. But the goal was not to just make it to the Big 12 championship at the first year. The goal that he talked about in spring practice was winning the Big 12. And you can't win it unless you get there, obviously. So that's great. Celebrate the win, as Coach Herman said. But you didn't come here just to compete and just to play in the game. Texas came here to win the football game, and I fully expect Texas to come out and play well on Saturday. This Texas team's different. It's a different football team. It's a different mentality that we're used to at Texas. These seniors have gone through hell. You know, they were recruited by Charlie Strong, Chris Boyd, Charles Omenihu. These seniors, Bregan Hager, Nelson, all these guys, man, they've been through hell. They've seen the worst. They've lost to Kansas at Kansas. They've lost some heartbreakers. They've won some decent games, but Gerard hurt. They've lost some games that hurt. But they did exactly what Charlie Strong thought he would hope they would do, is turn the program around. Now he wasn't able to get them to do that early, so Coach Herman had to come in and do it. But that has to go with growth and getting a little bit older. But this senior class, without a doubt, has brought Texas back to national media talk, Big 12 talk, and have set the foundation for Texas to move on years to come. And they added some guys like Trey Watson and Calvin Anderson and those guys. Gary Johnson. Of course, Anthony Wheeler is one of those seniors that we're going to miss. And I also like this Texas team, when they go down, they don't fold. And when they're ahead, got a big lead or a semi-big lead, and they let a team back in the game, they don't fold, they don't quit, they're tough, they're gritty, they're fundamentally sound. They're doing better on penalties, big penalties, much better the last few weeks. So, and the defense is solid, and the offense is much better than it used to be. So this Texas team and program is in a better place. Like Coach Herman said, President Fenves didn't hire him to build a good team. Didn't build a single-year team. Brought him in to build a program. And it takes time to build a program. And he's building that program. Texas is nowhere near where they want to be, just because they're in the Big 12 championship. Texas wants to be sitting undefeated right now, and they're 9 points away from that. So they're close, and this week can solidify that we're here to stay. Texas is here to stay, and that Texas is going to keep recruiting, and Texas is going to keep competing for the Big 12 championship. So moving into my prediction, man, it's hard to see Texas winning again, and it's not because of Oklahoma. Oklahoma's very beatable. Oklahoma State had Oklahoma beat. Missed extra point, stuff like that cost them. West Virginia gave up 14 points on offense. Stuff like that. Oklahoma's absolutely beatable. Texas proved that. But I've been around football for a long time, and it's hard to beat a team twice in the same year. Very hard to beat a team twice in the same year. It happened to me coaching. We beat a team pretty bad early in the year and ended up losing the championship game to them by 6 points. And it wasn't we overlooked them. It's just part of football. It's hard to win twice. But like I said, Texas is beating them, so they can. I think Texas is the more physical football team. Oklahoma, and I think Texas has a little more edge. I think they want it a little more. Oklahoma's won it 3 years in a row now, so it's kind of, they're accustomed to winning that thing, man. And you got to give Oklahoma credit. They own the Big 12. I mean, there's no debating that. I mean, as a Texas fan, I can say Oklahoma owns the Big 12 right now. But that doesn't mean Texas is going to fold, or Texas is going to, it's big bad Oklahoma, let's fold so they can go into the Big 12 championship or go into the playoff. No, Texas is going to bring everything they got. One thing I do hate about this game is we got Big 12 refs. And I'm not saying they'll cheat for Oklahoma or they'll cheat for Texas. They're just horrible. They'll have 5 or 6 stoppages in the game to take a look at replays and stuff. They always do every game. So that gets annoying. But key to this game for Texas is to slow Kryler down like they did. I think he only had 33 yards total rushing that first game until he had that big, long 60-yard run or whatever it was. But slow him, contain their gaps like they did the first time. And I like what Todd Orlando said in his press conference yesterday. We can't do what we did in Dallas on defense because they know what we did against them. We have to change some things up. So I look for whoever gets the most stops in this game is going to win. Turnovers matter in this football game. Kryler will turn the ball over. If you put pressure on him, he will turn the football over. I mean, that's proven fact. It's not a BJ from Bad Talk's opinion. It's fact. And Texas got 2 turnovers from him. He threw some picks against Tech, against West Virginia. He's going to turn the football over. If you get pressure. If you let him stand back there and you only rush 3 and he's going to pick you apart. I mean, he's not a Heisman candidate and possibly the best in the country at what he does. No doubt about it. I'll be the first to admit it. But I think I'm obviously not going to pick Oklahoma to win the football game. Like I said, it's hard for me to picture Texas winning just because it's hard to beat a team twice. and they may have that little chip on their shoulder about us beating them the first time. But I'm going to predict one more time that Dicker, the kicker, is going to seal it Texas 41-40 to end the football game in Dallas. Texas storms the field, and Texas brings home the Big 12 championship. So let's hope that happens, Longhorns, man. I got a video. I'll come back with the reaction probably immediately following the game. And whether good or bad, I may be sad. If not, I'll be jumping with joy with all you guys. So those that are going to Dallas, be safe. Cheer on the Longhorns. Be loud and proud. Throw the horns up. Let them know that the Burnt Orange is back in the Big 12 championship. And just like I say every week, man, just be blessed every day you wake up. Thank the man upstairs for opening your eyes. It's not promised. You wake up every night or wake up every morning and give thanks to whoever you believe in. And, love your kids, love your family. And like I like to say, look them in the eye when you shake them and mean it when you squeeze them. If you can live by that, I'd be being a soldier for 18 plus years, and that's how I treat my soldiers and my kids. I look them in the eye when I shake them, and I mean it when I squeeze them, which means when I'm getting on to them and I'm disciplined and I'm shaking them, I'm looking them in the face with personal courage and telling them why. Then I mean it when I squeeze them. When I love them, I mean it. All right? I appreciate it, Longhorn Nations. You guys have a good night. We'll be back Saturday, hopefully the Big 12 champs. And I think Texas can get it done. Hook 'em.